We're back with Mark and his Intimidator electric utility vehicle. We're going to do a first round of maintenance, and Mark is going to give us a 9-month ownership update. So the Intimidator manual gives a pretty good rundown of the routine maintenance. We're going to work through that list from front to back of the vehicle. I'm back with Mark. It's been a few weeks since our misadventure on our scheduled maintenance of his Intimidator EV. We're going to go through what went wrong and how it got resolved. Where we ended up going wrong, we inadvertently left on the ignition switch while cleaning and applying dielectric grease to the battery terminals. So we were careful. We disconnected the negative cable on the battery first, but unfortunately, in doing that, we shorted out the accelerator pedal. After reconnecting everything, Mark went to move the machine, and basically the pedal was dead. The machine didn't do anything. Now, this is really tests a man's character. when you do scheduled maintenance, something goes sideways and your machine is basically broken. And I will say Mark handled it very well. You could tell he was frustrated. I felt terrible. Not a good situation in general.
Yeah, there's video evidence of that frustration. Yeah.
So we ran through everything multiple times, tried to rack our brains on what could have possibly went wrong. And then after a while, it was obvious that we couldn't diagnose the problem. Mark called up the dealer he purchased the machine from. They came to pick it up and took it to the shop to diagnose the problem.
And what we discovered was that the accelerator pedal had in fact been burned out, but the owner's manual doesn't give you any warning about that. It doesn't talk about how to apply the dielectric grease, which it recommends applying monthly. Okay, it's not like this is a once a year or twice a year process. They want you to apply this grease monthly, which means that the chance of having damage done to the vehicle is, grows exponentially. So that I think is a failure on the part of the owner's manual not to be very specific and not warn that in this process there's a chance that you could force the accelerator pedal to short out, to basically be fried.
And even for long-term liability, you could question if during a ride or during use your battery terminals came loose for some reason, disconnected power for a short period of time, that puts that accelerator pedal at risk during those instances also.
And so it does talk about keeping the battery terminals tight and saying that a loose terminal can reduce power, but it doesn't connect that to the fact that it could short out the accelerator pedal. So I think it's a failure on the part of the owner's manual not to have that warning in there. Now, initially, Intimidator was, when they were contacted about this, they were reluctant to honor the warranty. But after some finagling and contacting the right person, they did in fact pay for a new accelerator pedal and its installation. I still had to pay $269.38 to have the machine picked up and then delivered back here again, and I don't want to have to go through that again. But
and not having your machine for a few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it was weeks. We started this process back in May. We were so proud because we were going to have our update on the usage over the winter. Our first video we shot in the fall of 2021, and it was in the spring, and here we are. It's the smack dab in the middle of July, and only now are we able to follow up on our video.
Now, if Mark and I were to talk before doing the battery maintenance, we would say, should we have the ignition switch on or off when we clean the terminals? Of course, we would both say, let's have the ignition switch off. However, there were no reminders or warnings for us to spark those brain cells and say, hey, let's check the ignition switch before we do this. So it is good in the end that Intimidator honored their warranty. They could have been stubborn and pushed to not, but that's a sign of decent people at a good company that recognize, hey, there probably is a hole in our literature or our system that causes this accelerator pedal to burn out.
The other issue that we ran up against was when contacting Intimidator, people there were saying, well, usually, that's the issue, that a terminal disconnection will burn out the pedal, the accelerator pedal. Well, if that's the case, then there should be a warning in here not to do that, and there is none. So I think that is, again, a shortcoming in the owner's manual.
This is my first experience doing routine maintenance on an electric vehicle. And as a whole, it is easier than its gas or diesel powered counterpart. You don't have to worry about an engine. You don't have engine oil to change, filters, spark plugs, fuel filters, things like that. So that is a nice experience with the electric vehicle. However, this case did expose a little bit of a different perspective on electric vehicles versus gas. And I think it's just the growing pains of the new type of vehicle and the accelerator pedal. Mark mentioned the literature and the manual aspect of that. The other part of it is the design of the vehicle and building in safeguards to prevent that from happening. Now, gasoline vehicles, you can disconnect the battery on and off multiple times. It's not going to do anything. And there is a way, I'm sure, for them to incorporate a fuse or some sort of electrical system design that would prevent that accelerator pedal from burning out in that instance. And so that's just electric vehicles in general are easier to maintain. There's just some of this nuance as they get developed and more common in use. I'm sure these things will work themselves out. In a few years, we won't experience this problem from Intimidator or any other company. So it's been just about a year. Mark and his wife have had the machine. So he's going to give us a bit of an update on how that's going and how it is living with this electric vehicle. And we're going to do it on the machine because we can. It's so quiet. There's no engine noise, all that kind of white noise in the background. We can talk, even film a video while driving this thing around. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. Now that we've had it through well into a growing season, as we said, this is the middle of July. We've been really happy with what we're able to do with it, including hauling, buckets of water out to the new trees that we've planted, hauling mulch and other garden materials. So from that standpoint, I really like not having to go through these weeds. As you can see, we had 2 inches of rain yesterday morning, and it's going to be 80 degrees later on today, even though it's kind of cloudy now. And there will be, the weeds are going to be right up to the windshield.
So I guess the big question, Mark, after about a year and a little hiccup with reliability and with our scheduled maintenance, would you do it again? Would you buy this exact vehicle again?
I absolutely would if I could get it at the same price. But as a matter of fact, to get this unit with the windshield and the roof and the bed liner, it's almost $5,000 more.
Wow.
And that is, I guess just supply chain issues.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend of everything right now. It's inflation, everything's going up. hopefully it slows down here. I guess the big question is, this went up 5,000. Has the competition gone up also, or would you change the type of vehicle, or maybe go without? I guess that's the big question, right?
No, we would definitely want to stick with an EV, and yeah, the other manufacturers have increased their prices as well. So it's not just Intimidator. Across the board, everything is more expensive.
So I want to thank Mark again for having me out. Really appreciate it, especially after our oops last time.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it, sharing this machine with everybody. It's a pretty neat machine, I have to agree. And the novelty of it being quiet still has not worn off on me. I think that's the best feature. Just the silent operation is very unique, and especially when you ride other UTVs and that engine is directly under your seat, you start enclosing them, and that noise in the cabin gets quite excessive.
Yeah. No, we love it. No good deed goes unpunished, and so we're going to think long and hard before we do any more scheduled maintenance on it on our own. The issue of the cost of getting it back to the dealership to have that work done is one that we'll have to address. Maybe we'll have to get a trailer so we can haul it ourselves to eliminate that expense. But we still love it. It'll be a year in September of 2022 that we've had it, and wouldn't be without it.
How much use do you have on the machine right now?
Right now, we've got 15.6 hours of time on it. This gauge here says I put 64 miles on it. The other gauge says about 52. I can't believe just running around here on our little 5-acre lot, we put that many miles. And our usage right now, after the trip we just took, is down to 82% power left in the batteries. So I'll plug it in. They recommend, if you're not using it on a regular basis, to just leave it plugged in all the time. It will cycle on and off once the batteries are fully charged. But 15 and a half hours doesn't seem like much, but 64 miles of travel on a 5-acre lot is a lot.
Have you noticed any difference in your electric bill during times of heavy charging with the unit?
No, none at all. And
now, as I come visit Mark and riding this electric UTV, one thought keeps going through my mind is, are these electric utility vehicles ready for mass market? Now, the world is changing. Technology has enabled a lot of advancements in this around motor controllers and alternating current motors being able to be driven by DC batteries. And they are better in every way to drive than a gas or diesel engine. I am a motorhead, and that is hard to admit, but they're just better. The instant torque, the noise reduction, even the modulation of power is just better. Instead of having to think about using the throttle pedal and anticipating increased power demands, literally you can just hold your foot in one position and the thing just goes, and it's doing the thinking. If there's increased torque demand, it delivers it without you having to change your position on the pedal. You're really controlling speed with direct input instead of a secondary effect on fossil fuel powered vehicles. So mass market appeal for this particular machine, obviously range and recharge time are the two things that we always think about. So for trail riders, if you're putting on 100 miles a day on pounding trails, racing around, it's probably not ready for that market yet. But for the homeowner, the farmer, who maybe you put a lot of hours in during a day, but it's to drive a short distance, park it, do your work, haul things around, I think this is perfectly adapted, suitable for that person. And the other market is the hunters going in and out of the woods or trying to get around silently. This thing is way better than a gasoline or diesel engine. That sound just kind of echoes and reverberates around. Those animals know you're there, and they get attuned to that. This thing, much more silent, stealthy. You can get in and out. And it's probably even better than walking because you're not getting your scent all over the place. You're able to jump on this machine and kind of go in and out without leaving a trail of human scent. So that's probably a very good application for this unit also.